Welcome to Math with Mr. J. In this video, we're going to discuss how to find the greatest common factor between two numbers. And as you can see, there are four problems here and sets of numbers that we're going to find the greatest common factor. So for example, number one, we have 10 and 15. So let's jump right into that one and see how we find the greatest common factor. Well, before we find the greatest common factor, we need to know what factor means. And factors are all the numbers that can multiply together to give you that number. So let's make sense of this. So we have 10 here. We're going to list all the factors of 10. And like I said, it's all the numbers that can multiply together to give you 10. So for every number, when you're listing the factors, you can start with two things. One, and that number itself. And I'm going to put some space in between for the other factors. These are a factor pair here because I can do 1 times 10 equals 10, or 10 times 1. That's a multiplication fact that gives me 10. So those are factors. Can you think of any other pairs that will equal 10? Hopefully you're thinking 2 and 5, right? 2 times 5 is 10, or 5 times 2 is 10. So I fill in my space here with the 2 and the 5. And 10 has 4 factors, 1, 2, 5, and 10. 2 and 5 are a pair as well. If you want to connect them, if that helps you out, that works. So let's do 15. So we need to think of the factors of 15. So we always start with 1 and the number itself, and leave some space in between for your other factors. Now, once you get better at this, you will get very good at the spacing. When you're first starting out, you may have trouble spacing out in between there where you can put your factors. That's fine. As long as you have all your factors listed, don't worry so much about the spacing. So 1 and 15. Now sometimes if the number's prime, you'll only have a 1 and that number itself. That's exactly what prime means. But composite numbers means you have more than just 1 and the number itself. And 15 is composite. So can we think of any other factors for 15? Hopefully we are thinking 3 and 5, right? 3 times 5 is 15. So 3 and 5 are a pair, 1 and 15 are a pair, and there aren't any more, so we're done. So now we need to find the greatest common factor. So the greatest one that they have in common. So I see that they have 1 in common, and they also have 5 in common. So what's the greatest? Well, 5. So we could put GCF, greatest common factor, equals 5. All right, let's try number 2 here. So we have 12 and 6. Let's start with our factors of 12. So we start with 1 and 12. Well, 12's even, so I know 2 is going to be a factor. And you can think, well, what's 2's partner? Well, 6. 2 times 6 gives me 12. So put my 6 here. And there's one more pair, or 2 more factors for 12. And it's 3 and 4. And that's it for 12. Now let's write our factors for 6. So we always start with 1 and the number itself. 6 is even, so I know 2's automatically going to be a factor. And 2's partner, or other factor for 6, is 3 here. So there's your list of factors for 6. So I see they have 1 in common. And sometimes that will be your answer for greatest common factor. Not for number 2 here. Well, speaking of 2, they have 2 in common, 3 in common, and they also have 6 in common. So they have a lot of common factors, but we want the greatest. So the GCF for 12 and 6 is going to be 6. All right, number 3 and 4 here. If you feel comfortable enough to try a couple on your own, feel free to press pause, finish 3 and 4, and then when you're ready, press play and check your work with mine. If you want to do 3 and 4 with me, that's fine as well. So let's do 20 and 10. So we'll start with 1 and 20. And I know that 20 is even, so 2 is going to be a factor, and its partner's 10. Any others? Well, 4 and 5. And that's actually it for 20. So let's do 10. 1 and 10. And when you get into greatest common factors, one thing you should look for is if you already have a list of something, use it. And we know that 10 is 1, 2, 5, and 10. Notice my spacing wasn't great on that one. I have a lot of extra space here. That's fine. I have all my factors listed, and that's the most important part. So I see that 1, 2, they have 5 in common, and then they have 10 in common. So the GCF is 10 for 20 and 10. All right, lastly, number 4, we have 2 odd numbers here, 9 and 21. So let's write our factors. So for 9, we'll start with 1 and 9. And then is there anything else that we can multiply to get 9? Well, 3 times 3, so 3 is a factor. You only need to write 3 once though. 21, we'll start with 1 and 21. Now, are there any factors of 21 other than 1 and 21? Yes, 3 times 7. So there are our factors for 9 and 21. They have 1 in common, and they also have 3 in common. So the GCF, or greatest common factor, is going to be 3. So there you have it. There's greatest common factor. Hopefully that helped. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, peace.